training camp, just to push back a little, they were pushing him in training camp. And we were hearing glowing reports. And he was getting behind the secondary easily. And then they don't even really use him. I don't think they used him at all in the preseason. And so I'm just so confused because I like Powell. I do. He's a nice story. But if Brandon Powell, this UDFA free agent who had bounced around teams, if he's the reason why you're not using Atwell, I think that's a user error. Like, I think that's on the Rams.
I don't think that's why, though. Like what I was saying is Tutu Atwell is very situational. There was not a diversity of skill set. And I think that the Rams, like you mentioned the Tyreek Hill thing, that is not Tutu Atwell.
Well, I don't think he's Tyreek Hill.
Well, and that's fair because, like, really, who is, right? But
yeah, Tyreek Hill's just. Yeah.
I think that Tutu Atwell has like has one purpose. You know, I think that he is good at getting behind defenders and for that long ball. But the problem in the NFL is it's very rare that like you can afford to just have a receiver that is like very one-dimensional like that. And I do think that is Tutu Atwell. And I think, again, the Rams haven't had a reason to even activate him because of that. I mean, there hasn't been a reason to have him fill a roster spot when he's not going to be used in a multitude of ways. So
I do think here's what I'll say about this, because this is a really good debate topic, because what I think is he's actually a decent route runner going back to, preseason, seeing how he played, had a really nice rapport with Bryce Perkins, and then he gets hurt. He wasn't really utilized in the offense. It just feels like this team just likes to sometimes avoid guys. Like, just because maybe the way they practice or something. Like, Terrell Burgess would have been just as good as Taylor. Taylor Rapp has not had a good season. He's not. I don't think, like, I don't know how you cut, a third round pick in 2020 like that just so quickly when two of your starting safeties right now, they haven't looked great. I mean, Nick Scott has not looked good, and Taylor Rapp has struggled, and those two are both free agents. And then you look at the offense and you're like, I like Brandon Powell, but again, he's not having a great year as a returner. And then they use him in the offense, and I like seeing him in the offense. It's like a cute little thing, but I just feel like the idea, like, you can't get Atwell involved on the end arounds. How many does he have this year? Maybe one, if even. You can't get him, the quick slants, get him some space to, the bubble screen they tried, it just wasn't executed correctly. Okay, go at it again. I just feel like they should try to protect their investments more, because if you're going with this F them picks, you can't just have second round pick Cam Akers, fail there, and Tutu Atwell fail here, and, third round pick Terrell Burgess fail there. Like, you got to get these guys reps. The way I see it is Bobby Evans has had more of a chance than any of these guys. And I mean, we already know he can't start in this league. So it's frustrating to me, because, like, I'm not saying you're wrong, but that's my frustration with the Rams right now. You should be trying anything that works. And, like, they went away for instance from the Ben Skoranek thing. They were using him at fullback and they're having success. So they're like, oh, well, we're having success with this, so let's not go back to that. Like, it just seems like they find some things here and there, and then they just kind of back away from them. It's why I think the usage of Henderson has been questionable. I think the usage of Allen Robinson has been questionable. And I think that's why, to kind of wrap it up into a bow of what I'm saying, it's not just Atwell. I mean, it's all those guys. And I think it all starts with the offense. And I think that's why they're 3-5, because I think the offense just has no identity. It's get it to Cooper Kupp. It's basically, I'm going to say this, the Rams offense, and I had this realization the other night. The Rams offense is the Lakers offense in basketball. The Lakers just try to get it to their stars. Lakers are like LeBron, AD, Russ. If they don't score 90 points a game all together, they're probably going to lose, and even still might lose. And they need guys to step up, and they don't. The only difference is I think it is manufactured by the coaching staff. Like, I don't think McVay's doing the best job of putting these guys in position. And I just think when we watch this Rams offense, there's nothing special. It's a bunch of really talented guys that just they're not utilized correctly. Like throw a deep ball to Allen Robinson, let him go up and high point the football. We don't see that. Allow Tutu Atwell to be your gadget option. I mean, look at the way the Panthers are utilizing a far less athletic but fun player in Laviska Shenault. I mean, that's what I'm talking about. Use him like that. There's no need to not use him at all. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. It just kind of wraps it up as to why I think the offense is struggling. There's just not a lot of creativity, and they're trying to get like Brandon Powell these opportunities, which, like I said, it's fun to see him get involved, but he's not really doing a whole lot, and they're like not even giving Atwell a shot. It just at some point it makes you feel like when Cooper Kupp, and I think you said this to me, was like, Cooper Kupp wants the offense to be innovative. And you tweeted out something like, I can't believe we're talking about a Sean McVay offense, that needs to be innovative or whatever. Might have been somebody else. But the point about that is there is no innovation. It's basically just get it to Kupp. Let's survive. Let's have the defense, kind of guide us. And then it's like, there's nothing special. Even though they have the talent, they're just not utilizing them correctly. So I don't know. It's a long rambled on thing, but like, obviously I think the Atwell thing frustrates me, but this definitely boils over from a guy that you and I like, but it's not just the fact that we like him. I don't feel like guys like Burgess are getting a shot. You're cutting guys like John Franklin Myers, who, strip sack Tom Brady in the Super Bowl, win Rams Rookie of the Year in his first year, is your diamond in the rough you got from Stephen F. Austin in the 4th round. Like you're outsmarting guys, and then you cut him the next year, and now he's a stud on the Jets. Yeah. I watch him every week. It just seems like it's like the same thing. And while I want to, I want to back the F them picks, I think the Burgess thing really broke the glass for me on that, because I do feel like the Rams aren't putting certain players in position to succeed.
Well, that tweet was for me.
Okay,
I said that I never thought I'd see the day where a Sean McVay offense needs innovation. And I was agreeing with Cooper Kupp on that. Right. Like, who would have thought that we'd get to that point?
Who would have thought?
In terms of just the overall thing that you're talking about, I agree with you. I think the Rams do a very poor job at developing talent. And I'm going to say that. I think that there are a few players, Cooper Kupp, that are an exception to that. But I do think the Rams have a little bit of a short fuse when it comes to players. It's what can you do for me right away? And if you can't do what we want, that's it. We're not going to take the time to, and again, if you're going to have the F them picks mentality, you can't have both. I don't think, because it's just going to lead you down a bad path. I don't think that's what's happening with Tutu Atwell. I do stand by that. I know what was said during training camp, but I know that what the vibe was. And again, I think that I agree with you. Maybe just while you have him, try to use him more. I think that the Rams just don't have a lot of faith in him being a guy that can do multiple things, and they don't want to waste their time with it. Whether that's right or wrong, I think that they look at him and they're like, that this is not going anywhere. I tend to kind of agree. But I do think that they could probably do a better job of using him more. I think the Burgess thing, obviously people know that we really like him. He's been on our show a couple times, but that's not why we feel like this. I do feel bad that, again, I feel like he wasn't really given an opportunity to become kind of what the Rams could have used, if that makes sense. I feel like he was just kind of thrown in there randomly in pockets of time when they needed safety help.
When was the last time, by the way, they had a Pro Bowl safety? Because I'll tell you right now, we love John Johnson, wasn't a Pro Bowl safety. He did not make a Pro Bowl.
Well, again, it just goes to the overlying thing that, as a fan, it is a little bit kind of a bummer, because you want them to develop these players. And I don't think the Rams do a good job of that in recent years. No. And again, you could say, oh, well, it's not a big deal. Either you come in and you contribute, and you don't, you're gone. Okay, that's fine. But not when you don't have any high draft picks to gain capital. And
they're too cutthroat on it.
And so, I do think, again, I think that there are a lot of reasons that the Rams look at the way they do. I'm not saying that this is a huge reason, but I think it is a reason. I think that the Rams approach the F them picks thing is going to have to stop eventually. It was always going to have to stop, right? There's only so many picks in the world. Like, you can't just like not have a draft pick for 5-6 years. You're not going to get anywhere. So it's going to have to stop eventually. I think it's going to have to be sooner than later.
I get the reasoning. I mean, honestly, Alexis does have to stop. I mean, if they're going to keep missing on second and third rounders, I guess it makes sense.
I mean, I think that when you see teams have longevity in the NFL, it is usually because they have all of those. They have a team and a young core.
No,
right?
You're right.
You see with all these teams, and they build them up. The Rams, they did win a Super Bowl, yes, but how did they win that? They won that by acquiring a lot of stars in a couple years periods of time, and they won. That's great. That's awesome. Good. I think that was smart for the way that they wanted to do it. But that is not a viable option to win in like back-to-back years, right? There's only so
Absolutely.
many picks. And so it's like, you look at the Brian Burns situation, right? A lot of people think that we missed out on Brian Burns, and you and I kind of disagree. I would have never traded that many picks for Brian Burns. But one of the reasons
I would have, but it's one of those things where if it happens, that's awesome. If not, get him in free agency.
Well, that's the thing, is people were with the Panthers in their mind. I think they're like, listen, like, because they'll have Brian Burns next year, I believe, and then he's a free agent, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think the Panthers proved on Thursday night that they're a quarterback away. They're not a bad football team. They just don't have a quarterback. Well, so I wouldn't have traded Burns if I were them.
In terms of the draft capital, it's like, why would you accept picks from a team that doesn't have a pick in the next 1 or 2 years, right?
Yeah.
So that's the problem the Rams are going to run into, is if they want to keep up the pace of just, F them picks, trade it. It's like, okay, well, eventually teams are going to be like, why would I take a first round pick in 2026 or 2027? You know what I mean? So it's like that option does not work for that long. And then then you can get yourself into a situation where you don't have that young core because you don't have all those solid draft picks because you traded all those picks away, right? So it's kind of like a very fine line the Rams have to tread, which is why I'm off the F them picks train. Now, it might be a different vibe for me if the Rams were like, instead of 3-5, they were 5-3 right now, or like 6-2. And we were just like a couple key pieces away, then I'd be like, you know what? It's worth it. Let's gamble it. I want to win Super Bowls back to back. But that's not
results
the case.
Keep critics away. I mean, that's about as simple as I can make that.
Yeah, it's just, so now it's a totally different situation, because now it's like, it would be nice to have maybe those younger core players that we know are going to be around for a while. The Rams are on the complete opposite of that. We now have our stars are either kind of midway through their career or a little bit towards the ends. I mean, if you think about that reality, we don't have, the stars of our team are not 21 or 22 or whatever, right? I'm not saying that they're old, but we are past that point where we don't have a young core. So it's something to think about.